Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal, and today we finally get the launch of the patch 10.2.5. Like most 0.5 updates, this is one of the smaller additions for World of Warcraft, though it does bring with it awesome features, like worldwide Dragonriding for dragon mounts and evokers, additional open world content, a ton of new collectibles, new character customization options, and so much more. And if you're looking to get the most out of the patch 10.2.5, then this video will go over every single new feature, activity, and addition, from all of the little class changes, all of the new content, and even smaller details that most people would normally miss out on. Basically, this video is going to go over everything that's arriving with the launch of the patch 10.2.5. But right before we dive into the details, most of you guys watching these kinds of videos are still not subscribed. However, the more of you remind, the more of you do, so let's keep it going. Subscribe to the channel and ring the bell if you're watching these videos anyway, especially if you want to get more regular content regarding Dragonflight 10.2 or any of the future updates going forward. First things first, we have a new zone of Belemeth for us to explore, as a new world tree has bloomed within Azeroth, which you can now go visit when you fly towards the shores of the Onaran Plains. Belemeth will serve as the new home of the Night Elves since they lost the original world tree of Teldrassil back during the events of Battle for Azeroth. And while technically this is a Night Elf specific area, it can still be visited by members of either faction, though Horde players will be under careful watch during their stay. And while you're out exploring the new world tree, be sure to visit all of the main locations such as the lodge, the harbor, and the two watchtowers, where you can find some familiar faces from previous expansions, as well as plenty of new cosmetic items to transmog into, with new weapons and even back pieces that you can now add to your collection. Next, the feature of Dragonriding has now become worldwide and is accessible everywhere else in Azeroth, which allows you to traverse on the back of your Drake beyond the lands of the Dragon Isles, which to me is one of my favorite features of this 10.2.5 update. With that, the Draconic Evokers also get to stretch their wings as well, as their soar Rachel is now transformed into standalone flying, allowing them to take off and fly just like any other dragon riding mount would, while utilizing the very same flying resource system as well as passives. Next, we have a brand new world public event of the Azerothian Archives, which will function similarly to other events such as the Super Bloom, the Grand Hunt, and even the Tuskar Feast. The new public event will be located in Trader's Rest, somewhere in the centralized area of the Azure Span. In Azerothian Archives, you'll be able to participate in weekly events, as well as uncover a variety of relics to earn reputation, as well as a new currency to purchase cosmetic items, pets, and even new mounts to add to your collection. The starting quest to access the Azerothian Archives activity, as well as the new expedition vendors for the activity, will be located near the Algathar Academy, inside of one of the many towers which you can find on the various floating islands. We also get a new story quest line for reclamation of Gilneas, where both the factions of the Alliance and the Horde will get the chance to help reclaim Gilneas from its current occupants, the returned faction of the Scarlet Crusade, where all players will get the chance to earn new cosmetics and even a new mount for completing the Gilnean story chapters. During the PTR testing for the 10.2.5, we never get the chance to directly experience the main story of the Gilneas reclamation, so if you were to log in just as the patch launches, you'll be there experiencing the story for the first time with everybody else. Also, as of the patch 10.2.5, you can now queue for follower dungeons. With follower dungeons, you can now queue up for instances as a solo player or with a smaller party, and whatever else is missing to make up a 5-man party will then be replaced with followers to join you in your dungeons. Follower dungeons are perfect for new players or players who don't normally interact with grouped endgame content but are hoping to get their feet wet for the very first time. The NPC followers in these dungeons are also quite helpful. They can either follow your command and let you explore the Dragonflight instances as you wish, or they can take the lead and show you where to go next if you ever get lost while exploring. And the followers will also try to keep you alive as best as possible. The tank follower will draw enemies' attention, the healer will heal you, and the DPS followers will even interrupt enemies and crowd control them as a real dungeon party would, and will even provide you with helpful tips if there are any special mechanics present for any of the bosses. Follower dungeons will be the perfect playground for new and inexperienced players to try various different specs and even different roles without the anxiety of making mistakes around other players, and will let you take the dungeons at your own pace so that you can get more comfortable with grouped content. We also get Outland Dragonriding races with a 10-5, with the Outland Cup launching on January the 18th. You'll be able to access normal, advanced, and reverse versions of each race for you to complete, and all of the races will award you with additional Riders of Azeroth badges so you can purchase more cosmetics, like a new version of the Dragonriding set. And even players who have not yet unlocked Dragonriding will still be able to participate, as they'll be able to use lone mounts in order to compete in all of the races. In 10-5, we also get new character customizations, with a handful of options added for Trolls, Draenei, and Warlocks. For Trolls, they'll get access to 5 new hair color options, while the Draenei will get a darker demonic skin option. Warlocks will also be able to customize even more demons, with Demonology Warlocks getting access to customize their Tyrant, while Affliction Warlocks will be able to customize their Dark Lair, or even transform it into an Observer, or even a new variation entirely. For any of the players who earned the Trading Post Enthusiast achievement and unlocked the Warden outfit, you can now transmog the Gleaming version as well as the Moonlit version of that set independently, meaning that you now have access to 3 versions of that set: the green version, the silver moon version, as well as the interchanging version that changes based on the time of day. Patch 10.5 also features a handful of class changes. One of the biggest one is all Covenant abilities from the expansion of Shadowlands have now been updated to look more class specific rather than Covenant specific. This means that classes such as, let's say, the Demon Hunter's Elysian Decree ability as well as the Hunt will now have a more fell demonic aesthetic and will now do chaos damage instead of arcane in nature to better reflect the Demon Hunter class. This will also affect a variety of other abilities, such as the Mage's Shifting Power, the Rogue's Sepsis Poison, the Paladin's Divine Toll, the Mistweaver's Fey Lines, and even the Warrior's Spear of Bastion, and so many others. Though a majority of these updates are going to involve visual changes as well as flavor text changes for certain talents, but they shouldn't really alter the mechanics and the usage of those abilities and how they impact that class's performance. Besides Covenant additions, we also have some actual class changes, starting with the class of the Evoker, where the Source of Magic talent will now last 1 hour for all specs of the Evoker. Not the craziest change in the world, but just a nice buff uptime improvement, which results in you having to refresh it less often on your healers in between boss encounters. Preservation Evokers aren't using the reversion ability nearly as much as the developers would like, so for the 10.5 they're hoping to correct this by making reversion a spell that you will want to use and integrate into your playstyle, even if you play a more Emerald Blossom focused build. Essence Burst may now trigger from cast of reversion, but the mana cost of most spells is being increased by 10% to compensate for more procs of Essence Burst thanks to reversion integration. The talent of Grace Period will now increase the healing to targets that have reversion on them by up to 20%, which is a mighty improvement. And the talent of Timeless Magic will now affect Temporal Anomaly, and will also reduce the mana cost of Reversion, Temporal Anomaly, Echo, and Time Dilation by up to 20%, where previously this talent simply only increased the duration of all these effects and abilities. We also have a handful of Mistweaver Monk additions as well, where Mistweavers are getting new defensive buffs for the patch 10.5. Dance of the Wind talent will now grant you a stacking dodge chance until you eventually dodge an ability, which will result in far more consistent chances to dodge attacks. Ancient Teachings talent will now grant you 5% additional stamina while you're in melee doing combat healing. Thunder Focus T can now also interact with Expel Harm, which will be used to create a shield around the monk, making you a little bit tankier. This week, the Revival Catalyst has seen a few changes. It will now grant a Catalyst charge weekly instead of once every 2 weeks. This makes it a little bit easier for you to catch up with the tier sets, as well as to continue turning gear into tier as you get additional upgrades, and will also make it much easier for you to unlock all of the transmogs and appearances for every single one of your old characters. Lastly, we have a handful of interface and accessibility additions. First of all, you can now set favorites on your appearances using right-click in the transmog set pane. The edit mode snapping has become a little bit more responsive, especially when using the grid to customize your UI. And when selecting your quest text contrast, it will now have a preview window so you know what it looks like before you set your contrast settings. And for now, that's going to be the full list of all of the newest major and minor features available with the launch of the patch 10.2.5. I want to thank all of you so much for watching this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know which feature is the one that got you the most excited for this content update. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.